Super excited to be before you again. Desmond Wigan, the CEO and co-founder of BatteryXchange, and we've created an immersive kiosk battery charging solution. I know kiosks, batteries, and hardware, not the sexiest, but over the next few moments, I'll be talking about how we found a sticky yet scalable niche within healthcare. We focused on profitability, and we've now become bigger than just batteries. I love starting with our origin story. So several years ago, I'm in mainland China, a part of my MBA program, and after a long day of traveling, I found myself with an inconvenience similar to how we've all found ourselves in one moment and another, and having a dead cell phone, right? So cell phone being your lifeline. I unfortunately had high anxiety, right? Nervous. I couldn't call an Uber to get home. They call it DD. I couldn't tell my wife no connectivity to, that I was headed back to campus. And so in this moment, I'm like, why isn't there a more convenient way for us to charge our devices while we're on the go? I heard this quote by Jamie Siminoff, the founder of Ring. If you could solve a simple global problem, you could create $1 billion opportunity. And so that's what we created. So our model is similar to the scooter or the bikes that you see within the city of Charlotte. And what we've created is a mobile application that allows users to onboard. Then they can find one of our kiosk machines in strategic locations. Simple, easy 1, 2, 3 process to sign up. Then they're able to scan the QR code, get access to an external portable battery that's compatible with every single device on the market. And then they have up to 24 hours. And then once they're finished, they're able to return it to any one of our kiosk machines. And this is free for users. I know investors typically don't like to hear that, so I'll talk about how we monetize later. And then the big thing is we're able to engage with that user. So strategic information and resources are throughout our user experience from the location at hand. So it was important for us to find a sticky industry to scale. And I always say healthcare found us. And so we started to realize that they had a solution there. And individuals were finding themselves in emergency rooms for hours, surgical waiting rooms, and these were unplanned at times. And so we wanted to give them a source of connectivity. And then also, health systems were looking at ways to digitally engage these individuals. So one of the ways that we've brought in our platform is patient satisfaction surveys, like HCAP surveys. That allows health systems to tap into the $955 billion Medicaid enrollment and just different what we call social determinants of health information for certain communities. And so we're off to a great start. So some of our partners, Advocate Health, which Atrium Health just merged with them. We're in over 20 of their facilities, just launched out of Hartford, Connecticut with Hartford Health. And then because of our hefty margins or healthy margins, we're now looking at strategic organizations to put our product in front of hundreds and thousands of health systems across the nation. So more about those margins, again, hardware. This is the part that I really love to talk about. So we break even in our first quarter based on our cost. Our first year, we see about 76% margin. And our average contract value over a 3-year period is $24K for a single kiosk machine. And so Hartford Health, 10 kiosk machines we just launched into, that's about $240K in profit. I'm just straight talking about profit. And so one of the cool things about what we've been able to do is fall into other sources of revenue. So third-party advertisement, bringing in subscriptions within our digital advertisement, both on the screen and in our mobile application. And then we feel like we could make any hardware smarter and more engaging. And so there's a retail vending play that we're looking to come out with as well. So this is what traction has been like over the last few quarters. We 4x revenue, built our pipeline a little over $1 million, and had a really good Q1, looking for a really good Q2 and Q3, and then obviously having some additional partners and expanding throughout the health system space. This is kind of what growth looks like for us. So we'll race toward, I ran track, so we'll race towards $2 million in ARR over the next year. And then do a land and expand hub and spoke model within healthcare to different regions. The goal is to be in 5 different markets by the end of the year. And then one of the cool things that we're able to do right now is we're doing some test and learns with some adjacent markets. So doing some work with the city of Greensboro with their public transportation, college and university space, working with sponsors to share career opportunities and internships. And again, that engagement piece, professional sporting teams. And then because of our profits, right, and at least margins, we're able to reinvest in product. So wireless technology, facial detection, and incorporating AI to make sure we're filtering the right type of communication to individuals that are on our platform, and then just incorporating some further intentional ad platform. So this is my dream team. My right-hand man, Ethan Wood, he has built hardware for some of the largest retailers across the globe, to be honest. Jennifer White, 20 plus years experience in operations and supply chain. And then our advisory board, just blessed with an amazing group of individuals like Brian Delaney, exited his company, so he helps out with business development. Wayne Kimball, he's a Google executive, he helps out with go-to-market strategies. Spencer Disher, local guy, ex-finance guy, managed billions of dollars, helps us with profitability models, financial, non-dilutive strategies. And then because we're focused in healthcare, Caleb Dixon, so he has sold over 15 years in healthcare innovation, so he's a big asset as well. This is where we're at. We're currently raising $850K to get to that $2 million in ARR. Looking at 4 new markets, 5 new health systems, and some additional features within the healthcare sector. And I'll leave this. Recent milestones, Q1 was really good for us, over $600K in total generated revenue. We were recipients of the Seed and Growth Grant, launching new markets, and then also just started bringing on more individuals on the team. So thank you for your time, and open the floor for questions.
It's really interesting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I have lots of questions. How do you deal with loss prevention, theft, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So fortunately, our loss rate is about less than 3% right now. So if you were a user, you would have to put your debit card and credit card incorporated on the user experience, and so more of a security mechanism. And then we're sending notifications throughout that 24-hour period.
And how long does one of the devices last at a location?
So the kiosk machine is like a charger, so it's always charging the batteries. Our average user is roughly around 30 minutes, but the batteries can last for about 2 hours. And it's a quick charge, so you can charge in 10 to 15 minutes.
Once you put in the kiosk, you haven't had one wear out yet, right?
So they have about a 5-year life cycle, and there's some components that we know of that we just kind of switch out throughout. So heavy hardware quality assurance team that is under our belt that makes sure that's quality products in the market.
So if this was really successful, right? In a 2-year horizon, what would be true then that isn't true now?
Are you talking about innovation? Are you talking about revenue?
I'm kind of asking you.
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking revenue, but I'm open to the way that you interpret the question.
Yeah, well, we projected we'll do about 7.5 by 2026, so that's about 2 years, and it's just on the same track record. We've been very intentional, so I spent a lot of time in Nashville. That's opening us up to even more health systems. And then with that hub and spoke model, now we're expanding to different markets. And then oftentimes, because we have that health system connection, we're connected to cities, we're connected to major partners. So we have a pretty much roadmap of how to get to that 7.5.
Do you think this is going to end up being predominantly a healthcare kind of thing?
So what I like about healthcare is, we were always looking for, social responsibility, impact, and it just kind of organically happened. And so when you also look at exit strategies, there's companies like Epic that just bought a kiosk company recently that we are trying to align ourselves with. And so I definitely think that's the value add that we're going to be able to give, not only here. There's some hopes to do this internationally in the Caribbean and Africa and other parts of the world as well.
Yeah, it seems to me that a healthcare environment does a really good job of underwriting the users that you can end up with, right?
Yeah.
It's good. It's interesting. Yeah. It's good. Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions I want to ask. Let me take a slightly different tact or path just to kind of make some kind of more specific feedback points on the pitch, just for not for just the benefit of you, but also people looking, people in the room or online. So, and by the way, pitch is super good. By the way, this is high quality.
You did great.
You've already caught your gear, so this is And one more comment. It's really interesting when someone catches a gear in a niche. I doubt you woke up when you started this company and thought healthcare, right? So something to remember. It's sometimes going to be the thing you don't think is going to be the thing, and you got to run with that. So congratulations on whatever, finding that, yeah, well done. Specifically on just some of the presentation, which is solid, so these are nits. Like unit economics, loved that. I would call it like kiosk economics, because I was kind of like, what we talking batteries? Like, what are the units here? So you're moving fast, which I like. The 5-minute pitch, very rare that you have to do this in the wild out there, But if you do need to do it, it's really to find people like Chris or myself to want to follow up with you. Yeah. So hit these things like early and be tight. So it's like kiosk economics, year one margin, you're talking gross margins, we're talking operating margins, just be more specific on what you mean by margin. And then I'm like, now I'm with you. I'm kind of locked in on the economics, which really helps because now it de-risks whether or not you're actually making money, which is cool. And then when you charted your revenue ramp, I would also do either number of locations or number of kiosks, right? Just hit that. Because if you're not doing that, like, I'm just kind of like, does he know what he's doing? Is he really tracking the key business metrics? So that's just not just criticism of you, but we see that a lot in like early stage pitches. And then on your uses of capital, just talk high level, like slow it down a bit here. Those milestones are great. I'd love to hear more, like 850, I'm going to spend 400 on people or 400 on equipment or whatever the numbers are going to be, and just get super tight there. What I really liked about what you said, I think is what you said, is like you're kind of testing and learning into new verticals. That's another really important like way to position your market growth, like build, test, learn. I always react positively to that kind of positioning from an entrepreneur versus like, I've got this vertical figured out, all hands on deck, we're going here, we're going to baseball stadiums or whatever. So it gives you more credibility that you're actually going to kind of do this in a more thoughtful, test and learn way. So I really like that. I'd keep up with that kind of positioning. Yeah.
Good. It's usually good when we have a few questions from the audience. Who wants to say something to Desmond? Yeah, Alan.
Describe the economics for each healthcare location that you go into, as far as like how much capex you're going to have to spend, what's the payback time period to get that money back, and then does the healthcare provider pay you up front or adjusting monthly? How does all that work?
Yeah, so it depends. It's varied. So we offer discounts as a growing organization for upfront payments. It's still typically about net 30 to net 45. And so for our costs, it's about all in, our average kiosk machine, about 2,500, a little over $8,000 that they're spending on an annual basis with all of the line items factored in there. So that's what we kind of present to the sourcing manager, and typically we'll have like a VP of operations that we're positioning that with. So that's kind of like a little bit of breakdown about that.
Your payback period is in months.
So yeah, like our first, well, again, it depends. So it could be annual that they pay out front, or sometimes like our biggest client, they pay on a quarterly basis. And so sometimes if they do that, then that would be Q1, we've kind of broken even on our cost.
Yeah. I would echo that. I was curious what the payback period was on the hardware.
You flashed like 1 quarter. There was like a number or reference in there. Again, that one chart or that one slide, you're asking that slide to do too much. Gotcha. So like really like take the simplicity of that slide up and just hit 2 or 3 points that you think are best. I think this conversation is giving you an example. Yeah, it's like where we want to be. Yeah.
One more. Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing I thought of when I heard this was when you go to an airport, you can kind of rent a book, take the book with you on the plane, drop it off at the location where you end up, right? And sometimes on a return trip you can. It sounds like you're saying that all of these batteries need to be returned to the same kiosk within 24 hours. A bit inconvenient if you're, on a traveling, you said on the go, right? This is an on the go type of thing. Are you thinking of making this a situation where you can return it at any BatteryXchange kiosk? And if so, how do you kind of follow that red box model of rebalancing your chargers or your battery inventory across the different locations?
So I may have misspoken, but currently you can return it to any kiosk machine. And I do have my eyes on the airport. The network effect is important. So if you leave Charlotte, you got to be in Dallas. And so that's something that we do see on the roadmap in the future. We kind of look at a model similar to like the Uber model, like an Uber driver. And being the individual that balances the batteries, because the data is going to tell us how many individuals are utilizing it on certain periods of the day, certain times of the week. So we'll be able to kind of utilize that and point an individual in that location to rebalance it. Also, we do things working with the locations to give them extra batteries sometimes if they tend to run low. And we literally built a back end that manages all of that already.
How much time do we have?
We do have one more wrap up, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we're out of time. Go.
What happens when the user will return battery?
So unfortunately, there is a fee allocated with that. It's about $45. But again, we're sending notifications. We are not trying to, make our revenue from there. But there is matters when that does happen. So that's how it happens.
You did great. Did everybody agree he did great? Yeah? Okay. So hey, there's one thing I would encourage you to do when you're in front of a group like this. Have a really specific ask for what they can do to help you.
Health systems.
No, right. Yeah, he wants, no. Like, what's the title of the person that you want to meet? What is it?
Procurement sourcing manager or VP of operations.
Raise your hand if you know someone who's in procurement in a health system. Does anybody? Anybody? There's one. Look, dude, one lead, that's worth a lot, yeah?
And
Just
honestly,
every
can I just say
time,
one
yeah,
thing?
every time ask, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Honestly, all I need is the pinky toe in the door. So if you know somebody that's, fairly high up in healthcare, they can point me to the sourcing manager oftentimes. So
This crowd wants to help you based on the way that you talked.
Yeah.
So you should cash that in my opinion. Good job.
thank you.
Thanks.
Congrats.